Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the last word. I think, well, this is the second to last Friday of August. I was thinking we were already at the end of August, but we're not quite there. In studio today is a special guest, Greg Sher. Greg is filling in for KP, the intrepid traveler. Uh, Greg, I don't know if you followed KP's escapades here, but he was like on Catalina Island the beginning of the week. Then he was in Palo Verdes or something like that, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then all of a sudden I see the dude in Orlando. He's all over the place, and now
He's got the life, man. He's
I
like
suppose, I
when
suppose,
Robin Leach came up with Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, he had KP in mind.
totally.
I just hope he recognizes his family when he gets home or doesn't have to reintroduce himself because that guy is always traveling. Does he unpack his suitcase, you think, or does he just
I
keep
think he's
one
got a
constantly
suitcase.
packed?
He's already got one in every port. It's
It's
waiting for him when
amazing.
he gets there.
He probably has a suitcase in every trunk of each of his vehicles, and he's got to have at least three. Don't you
Yeah.
think?
Oh yeah, easily.
Love me some
He's
KP.
he's camping today with his son Luca. So
Sweet. No,
uh,
dude, he goes hard. I love
right
KP.
on.
Almost
So
as much
Greg,
as I love
thanks
you.
again. Thanks for filling in, man. It's
Yeah, let's do it. What are we
always
getting
good to
into?
get some screen time with you. So there's a lot to cover today, but before we get into kind of the business at hand, I do want to just spend a moment and recognize and remember our dear friend Sue Buswell, who passed away this week. I know a lot of people have kind of seen the news on that. Housing Wire, James Kleiman wrote a beautiful tribute to her yesterday. Several people shared their sentiments and their experiences with Sue on LinkedIn, and um, I spent about 45 minutes yesterday in one thread and never got to the end of it. And that just tells you, in that single thread, the impact that Sue had on people and in our industry as a whole. And I know Mike Kelleher on his show yesterday recognized her as well. And so I just want to, share my empathy and sympathy to all of her friends, her family, all of us who lost a really good friend this week and someone who just cared deeply about our industry.
Very, very nice sentiments. I did not know her as well as you, although got to know her through the Green Book that I was one of the 37 or so authors, as was she. What a nice little community we built there, and this especially hits us all hard. Um, and the few interactions I had with Sue, so lovely and wonderful to talk to and accommodating. And I recall a conversation where she wanted us to take a look at a credit vendor, I think, and she knew credit as well as anyone. And I put her on the phone with our head of credit at NFM, who is a bulldog, and he saw things differently than she saw things, but they both emerged unscathed because it takes a thick skin in this business, right, to stay pleasant all the time. And
Right.
she had that ability.
No doubt. No doubt. She will be missed deeply. So sadly life goes on, right? It is the fact of the fact of the matter. And this week's had a lot of newsworthy events. Just this morning, Chairman Powell spoke in Jackson Hole. It was the much awaited speech, right, from Chairman Powell. I know you were probably tuning in live for it, and would love to get your take on what we heard this morning and how you think it impacts the near term in terms of rates and just sentiment in general.
Well, I mean, a lot of it's already built in, you know that. So the question now, I think, becomes now that he's made the total pivot to hawkish to dovish, just how much does he cut in September, and how many cuts do we get by the end of the year? I think I'm probably in the minority, but I was also in the minority when I said 2 months ago they'd be cutting in September. So now I think I'm in the majority, but I'll go minority again to say that a 50 bip cut might be appropriate in September. And the reason being, uh, politically wise, you just don't want to do too much as this ramp diminishes to the election. And I think there's 73, 74 days until the election. So I think you just knock it out in one fall swoop and 75. And then that way it doesn't look like it's motivated at all by what's happening, in the election. The question is now going to be, did he miss again? That's going to be the question, right? He missed the first time around on transitory. Is he going to miss the second time around on pushing too far, too fast? And that is going to be seen in the next 6 months or so. How much worse does this data get? The downward revisions in non-farm payrolls were staggering, the biggest revision since 2009. That's substantial. And the fact that the jobs that did stick, many of them were government jobs. Some people are posturing as if the fix is in, including, of course, the former president, Donald Trump, who says that the numbers are all a scam. So, we'll see what happens. We're heading into a better cycle for mortgage. That is for sure. And as is the case in a lot of instances, when that is the case, it's not so good for the economy. It's a trade-off, right?
Yeah.
Mortgage industry does really well when the economy does really poorly. And it's an unfortunate circumstance, but we've been sitting on the sidelines waiting for some advantageous climate for a minute here, and seen some articles recently about IMBs returning back to profitability. I think that Housing Wire may have had something today on that. And so it's looking rosier. I think the next, this will pivot into another one of your subjects that I know you want to cover today. How much will the NAR settlement impact the next 6 months? And as I've written about before on my LinkedIn page, I think that the circumstances around the moment we're in could not be any more favorable. Just imagine this. Imagine the NAR settlement unfolds on the 17th of August, and we're still in a cycle where we're unsure about inflation being tamed, and we're heading, we're at the bonds at 480, and we're at 8%, and we don't have the benefit of refis to kind of build a bridge between whatever the shakeout's going to be and volume, because there's going to be a volume hit, whether it's long-term, short-term, and what material long-term effects the settlement has remain to be seen. My point is, as we head into the winter months, the fact that rates are where they are and heading where they are is going to give people the ability to pause and not panic. Whereas if rates were still at 7 7/8 or 7.5, and we had to figure out what's going on, it would be catastrophic for IMBs that are still teetering on the edge of profitability.
It's like you were reading my notes, Greg. I don't know. We probably spend too much screen time together, but you hit on a couple of key words that I was thinking about going into this conversation. And one is winter, right? Winter is coming. We've been hearing that as it relates to rates, and then you layer on the NAR effect. And you brought up the return to profitability for, what was it, 80+% of IMBs or whatever the statistic was. How many of the IMBs that return to profitability in Q2 really have a strategy and a plan to maintain profitability through typically slower cycles, late Q3 into Q4, and certainly the first part of Q1 of 2025, or were they simply, hoping or expecting the Fed to do something that would, spur some volume their way in the form of refinances?
Well, that's what's happening. That's what's going to happen. So whether they were planning on it or not, the wind is finally blowing in their direction. So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not complaining. And we've seen enough, blood in our business here. We do not need any more. But let's pivot a little bit before we get back to the NAR settlement and talk about another timely update, which is around trigger leads legislation you shared yesterday on your LinkedIn profile. Some great news coming from DC that I believe was shared to you by Brendan McKay from the Broker Action Coalition. And I know MBA continues to tirelessly work this issue. The community home lenders with Taylor and the team continue to push on this, but just maybe give us an update on your conversation with Brendan and kind of what you learned yesterday.
What I learned yesterday is that it's likely that, well, he categorized the chances of the trigger bill going through at 90% now. And he was previously at 50% about 6 weeks ago. Then he crept up to 80. And based on what he heard yesterday, he elevated that to 90. So it seems like a certainty that it's going to happen. And the main reason, I'll put my glasses on here in a minute so I can read. The main reason is that it appears as if the bill will not be voted on. That gosh, how do you put glasses on when you have headsets on? You ever try this? Look,
You got a lot
okay.
going on there, man.
But what if I just rip the handles off here? Let me hang on a second. Let me see something here. This is okay. It's not working.
uh,
Um, but I tried. I tried to rip these. Okay, they're on now. Um, so just paraphrasing what I wrote. And I wrote massive developments on my LinkedIn page because they were massive
yeah,
developments. The bill no longer calls for a vote in the Senate. I just can't tell you how tremendous that is. Instead, the committee chairs will now include it as an amendment to the manager's package, which is comprised of non-controversial bills they want in the National Defense Authorization Act, otherwise known as the NDAA, which always gets passed
yep,
annually. So the fact that it doesn't need to be voted on and they can just push it in, that makes it really likely it's going to
yeah,
happen. And if it does happen, the impact will be felt on in the month of June 2025. But what I want to
yeah,
pivot into is I think it's great for the consumers. I don't think anybody would argue that. But the way that I understand the bill is that servicers will still have access to
yep,
triggers. And so I think the next thing to look at, which you can expect me to post this here soon, is how does this affect IMBs, right? Because especially with only a handful of IMBs holding any significant amount of servicing,
right.
when we go after our old book, we're still going to be up against it when it
Yeah,
comes to servicers. So I would imagine servicers are elated that they're going to get this. They're even in a better position potentially due to the ramifications of this. So great for the consumer. I don't think it's good for IMBs. Do you, Brian? When you think about it in that context.
I don't, but it's better than it was. Let's be fair,
But why?
right?
Look from the lender's perspective. How is it better than it was?
Because instead of
Other lenders calling their
50
borrowers. Yeah. Okay.
instead
Got
of
it.
50 companies blowing up their borrowers and just distracting them, it's just one. It's just the
Okay.
servicer. And so if I'm going to put my loan officer hat on, right, and it's a lot easier to prepare my prospective customer who's in the application phase with me, right? It's a lot easier to prepare them for what's about to happen from one entity versus 50 plus, right? And frankly, some of those 50 plus are not all above board on how they market and present themselves or represent themselves to consumers through this current process. So it's better than it was, but you're right. It's still not, this was not a bill for IMBs though. This was a bill for consumers. I think we
Yeah,
need
I
to
get
all
it. I get
be,
it. Let's
yeah,
go back. Let's go to the servicers for a minute, though, because for them, just like IMBs don't have to worry about their their borrowers being peppered anymore. Like you said, it's just one entity. Same goes for the servicers. They win
yeah,
again because now they don't have to fend off 40 direct to consumer shops either, right?
yeah, yeah, potentially one, right? The originating lender.
Yeah, well, the originating lender plus, yeah, that's what's left, right? The
Yeah,
originating lender, right?
yeah.
So, I mean, they'll still be aggregators of data, and people can still go out and but what even works anymore? It's a whole other conversation. Like, I don't look at my mail
No,
anymore. Like, I just look
no.
for any kind of anything that looks like a mail piece goes right in the trash can. So,
I don't answer calls unless
yeah,
it's from somebody I know. Same with
yep.
text.
Well, let me just speak about that, Brian, because you have a reputation of not answering calls from people you know. In fact, you have admitted to me, because we are close friends, that there are certain people that appear on your phone and you will not answer the phone, depending on who it is and what the time is. Correct? I mean,
That
let's just,
that that was not in our agreed upon prepared comments for this
well, I think
talk.
we all have those people. But
Oh
what we
yeah.
really should be talking about, man? This, right here. Let me just back off here. Look at this picture. You know who that is?
I can't even tell.
It's Joe Montana, baby.
Oh, there you
We got
go.
we have kickoff coming soon.
He was
I
the
mean,
original goat.
he was the original goat. I think he still is the original goat,
Yeah. Yeah. I guess
But
you're never not the original goat. Good point.
it
So
is, man. Yep.
back to trigger leads, because there's another shoe to fall in January with all the FTC changes that are coming down the pipe with respect to how lead aggregators and buyers of leads, uh, you know, have to interact with that data, right? And so, um, this whole trigger lead thing is got people kind of focused there, and there's less focus on what's now 5 months away, 4 months, 4.5 months away with this change in the FTC requirements for lead gen. Any thoughts there? And
Don't know enough about it. You want to elaborate a little bit?
well, if you're a purchaser, if you're a lead aggregator, right? Um, we know who those folks are, right? Lending Tree and others. Today, it's a free for all. They have a form gets filled out by a consumer on their website that creates a short form lead, and it can be sold to one or many entities, and then it's a free for all by those acquirers of that lead to make contact and make their pitch, right?
Okay.
The way I understand what's coming down the pipe is that lead aggregator will have to present to the consumer who filled the form out who they would like to have reach out to them. And so now
Okay.
the
Yeah, and
consumer's opting in
yeah.
essentially.
Yep. That's substantial for sure.
And so just think about how much the economics are going to change, have to change, right, for the lead buyer on that side,
Well,
right?
what fascinates me is the changes that are happening and who it benefits and who gets hurt by it. Suddenly, Redfin, who has I'm not going to call them a failure, but they've not hit it out of the park quite like they expected to. Suddenly, you look at their stock; it's up 20% in the last couple of days. The discount model
Yeah,
is looking pretty darn good right now, right? And
yeah.
so that's an example. Whereas the call centers, direct to consumer they're going to have to pivot, get out. I don't know. Lending Tree, how does this thing you just brought up affect? So there's a lot of stuff swirling in the air that's going to impact our business, but we're a resilient bunch. And in any moment like this, I think, I've been in the business almost 27 years. You've been in it just as long, I think. Uh, New winners emerge and
Yeah.
people innovate. And that is exactly what's going to happen here. And I can't wait to see it. I'm glad I'm still around for this next run, whatever it looks like, because it's going to be filled with openings and opportunity amid the turmoil.
And you're sitting right in the middle of where I think that opportunity lies, and that's with what you and your team do with your creator correct collective. It's your direct to consumer approach through social media, right? That that circumvents all these issues that we have with buying leads and complying with all the requirements.
It does. So, Gino, I think high level, however you do it, getting to the consumer earlier is going to be the big payoff for anybody and everybody. And a lot of that is just because of the generations in front of us, Gen Z and then Alpha behind it, and all the others that are going to follow when we're probably not around anymore. Um, Everybody behaves on their phone.
Yeah.
And so they want to transact on their phone. They want to follow people, and I've said this many times. I'll say it again. Push button get mortgage was a great idea, way ahead of its time,
Yep.
but I'm not sure they knocked it out of the park on that. This idea that people would just click and do this from beginning to end didn't really come to fruition. At the end of the day, we found that people want to stay involved in this transaction. It's just too big. Some will be comfortable, right? And more will be comfortable with that idea. But really, what I think is more germane to this moment in time is push, follow, get mortgage.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
so that's about what are you putting out there on social media? How are you branding yourself as an expert? And I'll go as far as to say that if you are not participating in the branding game, that you're putting yourself at a major disadvantage. Imagine you're looking for a restaurant to go to,
Hmm.
and you pull up a restaurant that has 0 reviews, and then you look at a restaurant that has 1,000 raving reviews. You tell me where you're going. I think there's definitely similarities between that and what this marketplace is going to look like and is already morphing into in mortgage.
Yeah, you bring up an awesome point just around validation, right? The Yelp experience, right? That's what you're kind of talking to, or the Google ratings. What more and more consumers, especially early, younger, first-time home buyers, are doing even when they're referred to a loan officer partner from a real estate agent, what's the first thing they're doing when they get that referral? They're looking them up on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram, and if you're not there, they're going to be like, "Whoa, wait, what? What? Who's this? I don't even know who they are."
True that.
Yeah, it's over.
You're very serious today. Is this are you serious on this show? Is this like a serious show that I'm guest hosting here?
I work for a very tough executive producer, and he has a strict standard for us as
Professionalism. Well,
co-hosts.
yes, yes, which probably explains why I'm not on here on a little bit more of a regular basis, don't you think?
Yeah,
You
you may
know,
not. Yeah, we'll see you back in February, I think, is the
hey,
way
you know
this will
what?
work.
Hey, the Chrisman name it's the name, man. They're legends. I want to see if you notice any difference here when I take my hat off, other than the fact that I'm going bald and
There's going to
I've
be a
got
lot of
very little
glare.
hair.
I know
Hold on
that.
a second. Tell me what you think of the lighting here, because this is my big debut of my new stage back here. Hang on.
Look at that. Look
What
at
do you
that
think?
face.
It's not a pretty face. Let's be honest. Uh, and I'm not having a good hair day. But what do you think? I'm better lit now, right? You see
Oh
that?
yeah. Now we can see you. I was worried. I wasn't sure if it was really Greg that was on this call with that dark hat.
What people really want to know is who's going to be in the Super Bowl. I'm going back to football, man. I mean,
Yeah, let's do that
mortgage.
for a minute because
I love talking mortgage. Okay, don't get me wrong, but I mean, they're going to be kicking off in like 10 days or something.
so can I start with my what would have been my prediction a day ago, and now I have to change it.
Okay, I'm going to fix my hair while you do that. Go ahead.
It's fake. It looks good, dude.
Thank you. Thank you.
So yesterday morning, I would have told you, I would have bet maybe not the house, but probably the front porch and even maybe the entryway that my Detroit Lions would be in the Super Bowl. And then I saw them on the cover of Sports Illustrated, the
Oh,
football
the
kickoff.
jinx.
It's over. Done. Done. I mean, sadly, we're probably like someone's going to get an ACL tear like week one, and it's over for my Lions. So,
Give me AFC, NFC. Come on, let's hear it.
so I, I can't go away from Patrick Mahomes and Travis Swift. I mean Kelsey. So there's my AFC team and NFC. It's going to be a little bit of a flip of the coin, but Niners are probably the prohibitive in my mind. But I'm going to go Lions. I'm going to say Lions, Chiefs, and Lions win by a field goal.
So, I mean, hopefully Robbie's recording this. I'm pretty sure he is, right? Everyone gets to watch this. So we'll go back and we'll see how this looks. I think in the AFC, the Chiefs are a safe bet. So you're a safe guy. You know, you're the guy that probably invests in bonds and things like that. Me, on the other hand, I like to push the envelope a little bit. I am going to go with the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC, and not just because I'm originally from that area, but I just think Lamar Jackson's playing at a high level. And then on the NFC side, this will throw some people off, but the Green Bay Packers, that is a team I think is going to they're not going to have a target on their back. The teams you
No.
mentioned will. The Lions, they're one of a handful of teams that are favored to get to the Super Bowl. The Philadelphia Eagles, I think, will be another team that a lot of people choose in the NFC. But you look at Jordan Love and the weapons that he has, and the season that he had coming in halfway through, whenever he emerged, that is an up and coming team. And I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens and the Packers. And I think that the Packers are going to win this game 21-19. It's a very unusual
Wow.
score,
Yeah.
but
Almost like scoregami. Is that scoregami, you think?
no.
No.
I like to gamify everything, Brian. You know that. Hey, should we tell people where to find us? Where do they
Hold
find
on. I want to go back to
you're like
since
the
you
LinkedIn leader, buddy.
since you're the man. Since you brought up the Packers and I brought up the Lions, how crazy is it that the Norris division, I mean the NFL North as they call it, is now all of a sudden one of the toughest divisions in football with the Lions, the Packers, Vikings are always going to be tough. They're well coached, defense is solid. They
And
I don't think I don't
yeah,
think
the
the
Bears
McCarthy
now.
kid was going to be their guy anyway. But and
I
the
mean,
Bears, let's
the
see,
Bears
Caleb
may end up
Williams.
having the best quarterback of all of them.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
You
wild,
got the
man.
Bears,
It's wild. And poor Justin Fields. Poor
right?
Justin Fields, no longer on the Bears now, and now with the Steelers. So, just quickly, some fantasy football advice, because I know everyone listening plays fantasy football. If you have a first round pick, do not pick a running back. Okay,
No,
they break
yeah.
down, tons of wear and tear. Don't pick a quarterback. There's plenty later in the draft. Go with a top flight wide receiver, and thank me later.
So, and would you? There's like a handful of tight ends that I would call really wide receivers. Would you go with a Kelsey or one of those high end tight ends in the first round?
I wouldn't, because the best tight end at the end of the year, and I want you to record this by far, it's not even going to be close, is a guy on the team you like, Sam Laporta.
Oh yeah,
Holy smokes. Holy smokes. He's got it all, size and speed, quickness, and he's on a team where he can't be double teamed. There're just too many
right.
options. So he's going to be wide open. 1,200 yards, 9 to 11 touchdowns. That's my prediction for him. You can get him probably in the third. So wait,
So why wouldn't I steal him?
you can steal him. Isn't this
Yeah.
fun? Doesn't always have to be about mortgage, right? You got to keep it light, don't we?
Yeah, yeah. No, I love this. I love this. But
It's
our
football
draft
season.
is
It's
next week.
appropriate.
We hold off our draft right to the very end for obvious reasons with all these crazy injuries. So we draft next weekend. Looking forward to it.
Well, look, it's great to talk to you. I know we're winding down, and appreciate the invitation from you and Robbie, and hope to do it again soon. I guess
Right on.
we'll continue to track the NAR settlement. We didn't get a lot into it, right? Because the data is so fresh and new. I'm hearing, I talked to a branch manager earlier who said that he's in Florida, many of his real estate agents are very, very confused.
Yeah.
Don't really know what the hell's going on. But James Dwiggins, out in California, who's very outspoken, owns a big brokerage. He says so far it's business as usual. I also saw comments from Brendan McKay about that. So it's going to be a mixed bag. We don't really know. We need a data set, right? And you're a data
Yeah.
guy. You've got that incredible company that you're building in FinLocker. It's all about data, right? So just in closing, I would ask you, like, what is an appropriate data set from the post-NAR settlement to be able to say, all right, this is going to be the change that we need to adjust to? What is the
I
runway on that?
I think it's a full quarter. I think we need a full
Okay.
quarter. I think you may have even shared it earlier this week. We had like a week's worth of initial data, and maybe it was James that shared that actually showed the commission was what trended slightly up, I think, or was it in the first week or something like that? It was
And that
flat
was
to
Brendan McKay shared that the commissions went up. James shared that on 6 of 7 transactions from a noteworthy brokerage in California, they had received seller concessions,
yeah. So
right?
for me, I want to see a quarter. I want to see a full quarter from contract start to completion, and that'll probably reset the new normal. Now we're also going to see that first quarter of data in the slowing part of the cycle, the season, if you will. But
Yeah.
I think we need a quarter.
Cool. Well, we'll be looking for it. Maybe we'll huddle up again, and we keep talking about, there's a lot. See how many metaphors are around football? You're
It's
talking about
there, man.
quarters. I'm saying we'll huddle in January. This is the kind of the mindset we all need to start to get into, right?
I think
As
we
we
have
enter
college
football season.
football Saturday, right? We have
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
the
for
Ireland
sure.
game.
I don't follow it, man. I'm too busy reading the Chrisman report. I'll tell you.
Greg, always a
Yes.
pleasure, my friend.
Love you, buddy.
Thanks for taking time with us today.
I love it, man. Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor.
See you all next Friday.
You got it.